Today's episode of the Meet and Greet Barbecue podcast is brought to you by AOS Outdoor Kitchens. They are the South's leading outdoor kitchen design and installation specialists. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Meet and Greet Barbecue podcast. So we spoke to Claire today from the Welsh Homestead Smokery, who talked all about her setup and her products, but she'll go through all of that with us shortly. So without much further ado, here's Claire. Hello, Claire. Thank you so much for joining us. So for anyone who doesn't know who you are, please do introduce yourself.
Okay, hi everybody. I'm Claire from Welsh Homestead Smokery. So I've got an artisan smokehouse on the edge of the Cambrian Mountains in West Wales. And we cold smoke here. So we smoke got bacon, we smoke lamb bacon, we smoke salt, we do some barbecue rubs, and I smoke an awful lot of chilies. So we do a lot of smoked chili jams. But it's all based here on my homestead. So we also we've got some crossover, I think, a little bit. We'll probably chat a bit about it. I'm guessing about sort of we raise some animals. They're not the ones that I actually end up using for the bacon, but so we've got a little bit of we grow our own protein as well, which a lot of your guests, I don't think, grow their own protein, do they?
No, not at all. And homesteads absolutely fascinate me because my wife loves the idea of them until you actually go into what's actually needed to do it and the effort that goes in, because particularly on things like social media, Instagram, you see all the pretty pictures, but you don't necessarily see the darker side to it. How have you found it? Was it a shock to the system at first?
No, I think we thought about it pretty hard before we moved here, to be quite honest. So but I think the thing, because we moved from Sussex, so I had half pigs come and things like that. So I'd done sort of it to that level, but you don't really know, do you, how you're going to feel about doing that yourself when you've reared that animal yourself. So until you actually go and kind of do it, it's quite hard to know how you're going to feel. But I think you've got to just be quite matter of fact about it from the beginning. That's what we came up here to do, was to, and part of it was going to be rearing our own animals. And that's going to mean that, part of that is going to be the bad end. So I was quite kind of matter of fact about that from the beginning. So no, it's been a learning curve for sure. But no, it's been I'm glad that we've done it. And I kind of think I spent a lot of my years as a vegetarian, which is probably a strange thing to say on this podcast. And everybody always thinks that's
what's one of them?
Yeah, exactly. So everyone kind of thinks that's weird that I've kind of gone from that to the other side, whereas I kind of see, for me, it all kind of tallies in. If I'm going to eat meat, I'd rather see the whole process than go to a supermarket and buy something in a packet, basically. So that's kind of the ethos behind where this came from, and then where all the smokery came from, basically.
I completely understand that as well, because you know the welfare of the animal, you know how they've been looked after, you know what sort of life they've had, you know exactly what's gone in there, and you can also give it the respect that it deserves as well. So I completely understand that.
Yeah, and making sure that we use it all as well. That's really important to me, particularly with our homegrown animals, to make sure that that nothing gets wasted. That's important. So, and I think that you lose a lot of that certainly with the supermarket, and I think even with the butchers to an extent, you can kind of lose a lot of that. Even just having the value of it. You think that animal's given their life, so I've got to make the most of it, basically. So, and I've done things like tanning the hides and the skins and stuff as well, and I've kept the horns and I've painted the skulls, and I've really tried to sort of use as much as I can do, basically. Which is again stuff that you don't maybe get a chance, well, you don't get a chance to do if you buy it from even if you buy it from the butchers, you're not going to get a chance to do things like that, are you?
No,
not at all. So I'm really looking forward to get to talking to you today, because you do a lot of my favorite things, right? So love bacon. I love cold smoking myself. I love chilies,
Yeah.
barbecue rubs, jams. Like it's where do we even start? But actually, I suppose it'd be good to talk about the bacon as you've been talking about. Kind of rearing the pigs. And did you do a lot? You mentioned that you'd done some bits with pigs before before you bought the homestead? Had you done a lot of smoking and curing and making bacon? Was that kind of just part and parcel of the homestead?
Yeah, so I'd made some bacon before down in Sussex for sure. I hadn't really smoked it, to be honest. I just tried, was experimenting more with sort of the curing side of things down there. But I've always grown a lot of fruit and veg. My dad was a horticultural consultant, so I was always around a lot of plants. So the kind of the preserving and the jam making and things like that kind of came from always having gluts in the summer, doesn't, of too many strawberries at once or whatever. Whereas the meat side of things kind of came more from the fact when I decided to start eating meat, again, it was that idea of, right, in that case, I've got to know what I'm going to be eating. So me being me, kind of ordered half a pig and I had no clue, right? It came to me, it was from a friend's farm, and it came, they got it butchered, and it came to me vac packed, and like in my naivety, I thought it might have some stickers on it to tell me what bit was which. It was just literally half a pig in like a box. And I literally sat there with my iPad with a diagram of a pig trying to figure out like which bit was which, because I had no idea. And then so in that I was like, okay, so now this is the bit I can make the bacon with, and this is the bit I can do some pulled pork with, and this, so it kind of sort of went on from that point of view. But no, I didn't really start smoking that much until I came up here. Just I think we got a bit more space down. We were only in a like a semi-detached bungalow, very suburban, and our neighbour hated whenever we had barbecues or anything. I'm imagining there's probably a lot of people like nodding their heads right now. This little old dear next door going, that so I think if I'd have started smoking like all the bacon and stuff down there as well, I think she'd have had literally a hissy fit at us basically. So then I started experimenting more with the smoking up here, and didn't just do bacon. I smoked, I did some, like everybody else probably did, but smoked salmon as well. That's quite a good one to start with. Smoked some cheese, and then I was sort of like, well, I can do different flavors of bacon, because generally in the shops you're not going to get that many flavors of bacon, are you? So started going for some different flavors of bacon, and it sort of has basically grown from there, really. So I think one of who's been making the bacon then? Somebody's been making bacon recently.
Owen has.
Owen has.
I've been eating it. I've been eating it. No one's been making it.
How have you found it? Like a good process?
Yeah, hence why I was quite excited to talk to you, really, just to try and basically see if I can pick up any tips. I started off, someone who bought me one of those kind of smoking kits, with the cure and everything that comes in a bag, and you just pop. So I quite enjoyed that process. And then recently I bought some curing salt, and then actually my most recent, I bought the best part of, pretty much like you, as much of the loin as I could, and just tried to mess around with a couple of different. I did like a sweet one, quite a sweet style bacon, and then more of a savory paprika-y, so it had like a sort of golden edge. I actually prefer the sweet one, came away with more flavor than the paprika one, but I was really proud of myself, because over a week's worth of work or whatever it's from start to finish, and then I cold smoked them for a day or so. So I really, really love the process. I think I can definitely get better. And hence, I wanted to pick your brains really about, what tips you've kind of learned as you're now doing it commercially, I suppose.
Yeah, I think well, basically I almost started where you've started. That's I suppose it's a place where a lot of people start, isn't it? I didn't I've got no butcher training. I haven't come from the sort of the professional meat industry in that respect. So so pretty much it was exactly like you're saying. It was start with something really basic, and then start adding in the flavors. And just I suppose the main thing is make sure you write it down every
I
time.
didn't.
Yeah.
I've
Just write
freeballed it
down.
completely.
That's like the classic, because then you go, oh, that one was really good. What did I put in that one? Oh, you need to kind of, if you write down those quantities and just experiment with as many different kind of like spices and flavors, and balancing the salt and sugar. My bacons are quite sweet. Hopefully not overly sweet, but they're more of a sort of American style bacon. Because I find particularly some of the butcher bacon where they just use the salt, they can be really quite salty.
Mm-hmm.
So I've tried to keep my salt sort of as minimal as I can do with a bit of sweet, but it's hard, like you say, it's difficult to try and balance it, isn't it? To not be too overpowering, and everyone's got obviously a slightly different taste. And then I just wanted to just do some slightly wacky flavors. That was my idea. So yeah, it's just a case of experimenting with them, seeing what you like. So I do like a chocolate espresso flavor. So that uses so it uses obviously ground coffee and organic cocoa in it. And then I do a chili and paprika flavor. So it's still got the sweetness with the paprika, but then I use my smoked chilies in that as well. And I do the maple is probably my plainest flavor, if you see what I mean. If people aren't sure which one to go for, I'd say go for the maple, because that's a maple syrup base essentially. And then the final one I do, which I do a couple of versions of, is I do a rum and molasses flavor. So I haven't yet. I kind of keep thinking you could do gin flavor. Haven't gone into gin yet. Maybe a gin flavored one or something. But you can kind of, you can literally be as experimental as you want to, really, but just make sure you write it down each time and get people to test it. So that's where you come in then, is it, Dan?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you did like a rosemary one before, Owen, that I really enjoyed, and you weren't that happy with. This is like a first attempt, but I loved it. I really enjoyed it. And it impressed me that you've got a proper cutter as well now, Owen, because you just gave me the slab and I just hacked away with it to get the chunks off that I wanted. Proper thick cut.
I think the term is all the gear, no idea. But Claire, actually, just sort of talking about rum, molasses, and gin. One of the things, so my local butcher for a time had beer bacon. I think it was a local Suffolk beer.
I tried doing beer bacon. Yeah.
So I was nervous to try actually doing more of a wet cure as opposed to more of a dry cure. Is there a big difference in terms of using something like rum or gin or beer about how you do that curing process? Is it different if it is more of a dry cure?
So I tend then to cure first with just the salt, and then I add my flavor in. So so that I know that I'm not diluting any of the salt, basically. So we know we've got it cured first, and then you can kind of add in as many sort of flavors as that. So that's just how I've worked it out. So my whole process takes around about 3 weeks. Wow, by the time I've done all of that. So it's quite a long process. But then I quite like the fact that it's a long process, because then it's taking on those flavors and it's doing, it's having time to do it. So don't be afraid to lengthen that process out. Once you've got it cured, essentially you've kind of stabilized your what was raw meat is now a stabilized meat. And it if you've used the right quantity and the right ratio of salt, that should be fairly sort of stable for you. When I first started commercially, because obviously we now have to send it all off for micro testing, so all my stuff goes off to the lab quite frequently now. And when we first started, we started out with I think we had an 8-day shelf life on it, just because that's to start with. And we're now up to a 35-day shelf life. I've just tested for a 50-day shelf life. So I haven't had the test results back for 50 days. So that's a bit of nobody get excited yet. But just to try. But I haven't actually changed the recipe. So that's the same recipe. It's just that obviously I've just been kind of gradually kind of going, okay, let's see if we can do it for another week, and let's see if we can do it for another week. And as it's gone into more retailers, and as we're going into a lot more sort of food service and stuff, they want the longer shelf life as well. But funnily enough, had I just at the beginning just tested it for 35 days, it would have been fine. But, you know, so you once you've got it sort of cured, it's quite stable. You've got time to play around with it, basically.
I think I have actually had your products before. When you were talking about the flavors, something rang a bell in my head. Am I right in thinking that you supply Tiny Rebel for? Yes.
Yeah.
So my dad lives probably about 4 miles from their hub, and I've been to
the brewery.
2. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I've been to 2 of their burger nights. I'm sure one of them was maple cured bacon. I was thinking, yeah,
there you go. That's my bacon.
It's good stuff. I was like, let me have a look on Instagram while you're talking, because I'm sure. And then I saw one of your posts. I was like, yeah. So it's good stuff, Owen. Just in case you didn't know.
and actually, and they're a really good customer, actually, fair play, because they're just exclusively using now my bacon across all 3 sites. The brewery's cool, isn't it?
Oh, I love it.
I've
been trying to convince Owen to go down there, because like we live now the other side of the UK. So like I'm in Ipswich, Owen's in Manningtree, but I go back there probably once every 2-3 months. And I keep saying,
quite often.
Yeah, I keep saying to Owen, right, we need to go down. I wouldn't see my parents when I was down there, but we'd have a wonderful time. Particularly if we could time it around the Six Nations. We're probably late this year, or there's other rugby stuff going on.
This year hasn't been a good year, has it, for Wales?
Oh, no. I've been so pleased because weirdly, my dad's English and I'm Welsh. So I was enjoying the France results because of what I've had to go through with him talking to me in the last few weeks, as it were. But like they do Six Nation days where, particularly if the games line up properly, you can be there for like 10 hours and it's just alcohol, food, rugby, sleep. And it's so good. I think
like all the pubs are, even like we've got a local restaurant here, which is excellent, but they've been opening, a bit early. So they've taken in those earlier matches and then open all the way through. Wales just gets right behind the Six Nations, doesn't it?
It does, but again, the quality of Tiny Rebel, they are so particular about what they stock. That's a hell of achievement for them to pick you for their bacon.
Yeah, I know they have been really good, and we've done a couple of sort of extra things with them in terms of events. So I'm hoping that we'll get maybe some more kind of collabs going with them in terms of that. They do use one of the chili jams in some of their burgers as well. So that's, if you go for I can't remember what the name of that burger is, but they use one of the chili jams in that too. So no, they're good, actually. They've been a good customer. So so you have tried it. That's good.
I have, inadvertently, and I've enjoyed it. So that's always a good sign.
This is going to sound like I feel it's a silly question, but you were talking about, starting at 8 days and then going to 35, still using the same recipe, etc. Hopefully 50 days. Does naturally, if you only cure it for 8 days, the flavor, it's not as rich of a flavor as it would be for 35 days. Is it a bit like a wine? The more it's aged, the deeper the flavor becomes. Would you say? Or
not necessarily, because at that point you've sort of taken it out of the flavor, out of the intense flavor. I kind of put mine into then an intense flavor and let it kind of soak it up and then take it out of that then for the smoking. So no, I wouldn't say particularly, but there's probably a bit of an element of that. I suppose a little bit more of the flavor is going to go, and then probably a little bit of the smoke's going to develop as well over that time. Even if it's black packed, you'd imagine that smoke might develop a bit. But then I do leave it it gets a while before being packaged anyway for the smoke flavors to really sort of develop in there as well. So I wouldn't say hugely, but maybe there might be a little bit of that. Like you say, if you eat a 35-day-old piece of bacon, is it going to taste a bit more smoking and a bit more mapley? Maybe.
And talking about the smoking side, so you're cold smoking. What is there a particular wood type that you use for your smoking?
Yeah, I go for maple for the bacon, actually, just because I find it's not too much. Like, I want it smoky, but I don't want it overpowering for people. And again, I think it complements that slightly sweeter bacon that I do as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, so my wood for that is maple. I've got some they're not private customers, so they're commercial customers, but I smoke for them, if that makes sense. But I don't then sell their bacon; they sell that. So they can sometimes choose other woods. A lot of people they quite often like oak, but you know, for me that's a bit too much on my bacon.
It's a powerful wood for bacon, yeah.
That's what I find, you know. So yeah, so for my bacon it's maple, but yeah, so, you know, they can have a choice of other things, of other woods. Sometimes they go for apple as well, I've found.
I've used cherry.
Yeah, or cherry, yeah. So it's I just don't want to overpower the actual flavors in the bacon, is my feeling with that one. Yeah. What did you go for? Did you say cherry?
So yeah, so I've used cherry a couple of times. What else did I think the one with Dan, I think I might have done beech.
I think are you sure it wasn't hickory? I'm sure you said you mentioned hickory.
I can't remember, Claire. Actually, the first one I did, I can't remember. But
didn't write it down, did you?
No, I didn't. I freeball a lot of things, to be perfectly honest with you, and just how I'm feeling. It's almost that flair, you know. I just chuck it in; it'll be fine.
Yeah.
We've obviously spoken a fair amount about bacon, which I could literally do all day. But some of the other things that you're doing. So obviously, you said you're smoking salts as well. But I'm interested to know a little bit more about your jams.
Yeah. So the jams. So my jams, I do smoked chili jams, and then I've just launched just before Christmas. I've launched a couple of meat jams as well. So the chili jams is what's been going for a while. So essentially that was me in a little mad moment, kind of going, well, if you can, like, you know, smoke chilies, you know, and obviously most of us know about jalapeno changing into a chipotle, you know, that's the kind of the classic sort of smoked chili, isn't it? So if you can smoke that with that, then why can't I get lots of other chilies and smoke them as well, basically? So I think a lot of people think that I'm like a real chili head, and I'm not at all. I'm a bit of a wuss, actually. So I'm kind of about halfway through my range. Okay? All the hot ones are a bit hot for me, but people don't realize that, just because I work with super hot chilies. So I work with reapers and nagas and all this sort of, like, the super hots. They assume that I just eat them. I don't just eat them at all. Not at all. So so I started kind of smoking all these different chilies. I got in touch with some of the chili farms that we've got in you know, the chili growers that we've got in the UK, and we've got some really good chili growers here. I don't know, like, if you guys have spoken to many of them, but
I know South Devon Chili Farm is one that I know of.
Yes, there's one. Yeah, and then we've got I use one here actually in Pembrokeshire. So I use Pembrokeshire Chili Farm. They grow excellent chilies. There's Oxfordshire Chili Farm as well. There's Edible Ornamentals in Bedfordshire. You know, some really good chili growers growing some excellent chilies. So I got in touch with them, did a bit of, basically ordered loads, figured out which ones I kind of liked. She says in inverted commas, with the hot ones. I sort of went, oh, that's really hot. And I thought I'll have a go smoking them. So I smoked them all, and then that's what then became the base for each jam. So there's 8 chili jams, and each one is made with its own variety of chili, basically. And then some of them have got like a few extra herbs or spices thrown in. But the idea was kind of to have a range of chili jams going from really mild to really quite hot, kind of showcasing each chili within it, rather than, because I think a lot of people as well, you kind of go down to the supermarket and you pick up that little bag, don't you, that's got like maybe 3 or 4 chilies in it. It might have one green one and a few red ones, and you sort of go home and stick that in your curry and don't necessarily think about what chilies they actually are. So I wanted to sort of show the variety of chilies that we can get and that we can grow in this country. So all of my chilies are grown in the UK that I use. So the way it works is we get I place my orders. So I've placed my orders already for this year. They're being grown for me already. So I give the growers rough amounts in kilos of what I want, and they figure out how many plants that is, I assume. grow them for me basically now. And then as they start harvesting, then they'll send them through to me. So that'll sort of start around about September time and go on to probably end of November, that sort of time there. So depending on the chilies. So generally speaking, the milder ones ripen first. So we'll kind of go through the milder ones, and then we'll get into kind of October time, and it'll be the mids, and then we'll go to the super hots kind of end of October into November. And then that will then be my chip. So I'll be basically being like mad, because I probably like a bit of an idiot. I like my chili jam to not have any seeds in it. So that basically means de-seeding all the chilies. Wow. Yeah, I know, which is probably a really silly thing to have started doing, wasn't it? so I have to get in help. So I have to get in help, and we all kind of clobber up in gloves and everything, and goggles and everything like that, and de-seed like hundreds of kilos of chilies, basically. And smoke them all, and then I keep those all frozen, basically. Then so they'll be then so I've ordered now for the chilies that I will be using next year in my jams. So if that gives you a kind of an idea. So it's quite a long process, and hopefully I've ordered right. It's a bit of a gamble how many I'm going to need of each, but yeah, it's quite interesting to see all the different chilies and stuff as well. And to work with them. And then I do the meat jams as well, so we get quite a lot of trim left over from the bacon. And it was at the beginning of the pandemic when I started producing quite a lot more bacon, because it went a bit mental online, basically. And I was like, what am I going to do with all this trim? It's not just a bit now. Like, the dogs will eat it, obviously, but we're getting quite a lot now to give to the dogs. So I just thought, well, I could start grinding up the bacon. So I ground the bacon. So I do burgers, and I put the ground bacon into it, and I sell just the ground bacon on its own as well. But then I was like, well, might as well make that into a bacon jam. And funnily enough, I've seen a lot of people doing bacon jam recently as well, isn't there? There's been a bit of a Wait, did one of you guys do bacon jam as well or not? Was that somebody else I saw? No, okay, you haven't done it. Okay, I've seen quite a few people in the last month or two have been doing some bacon jams. So I now do a smoked bacon jam, and then I do a smoked chorizo jam as well. But the chorizo I don't make. I will put my hands up and say I buy the chorizo in. So and then I just smoke it, basically. So yeah, that's my jam making.
I'm so hungry. It's ridiculous. But you go on, Tom.
So what I'd love to know is, you've gone through this whole journey and all of these fantastic products you're producing. How did you originally get into smoking? Where did it start?
I think really it did come from the bacon in the beginning, just to try and add that extra bit of flavor, and then to experiment to see how much that helped in terms of preservation as well. Like, I guess I've kind of got two hats on. I've kind of got my little homesteader's hat, where what I really like is the whole kind of preserving and no waste and using everything. And then I've kind of got my commercial hat now with all the products, and all those products basically came from the homesteading side of things, and me just trying to preserve as much of each thing as I could do, basically. And it's then got slightly sidetracked into doing things like smoking chilies. I know that's got not really much to do with homesteading, that just was fun to do, and it's worked really well. But yeah, so it kind of really came from trying the bacon. I've got like a char griller grill with like an offset box on it. So it came from just, I started just with that, with one of the the Pro Q do the little cold smoking,
the little box,
the wheels, or is that what you've used? Smoke generator, with the dust in it, so I started off just buying some chips, and realized very soon that you can't keep those alight. So then not just on their own. So then I was like, oh look, someone does something smaller, that's going to make a lot more sense. So so I've kind of gone through all of that. That was years ago, and then realized that that gets really quite affected by the weather as well, doesn't it? I don't know if you've tried using those smoke generators outside, like even in a grill. It's quite windy up here. I live 1,000 foot up a mountain. It can get the wind coming through, even if you shut your air intake down. will affect that smoke quite a lot. So all of my smoking, I've got a smoke room now. I've got a commercial food unit, and then I've got a smoke room set inside that now with extractor fans, and everything's all digital, and it's all, a lot more repeatable there. But it wasn't in the beginning. It was much more kind of sort of, I suppose, a little bit more organic and a bit more fun in the beginning, trying to figure it out, how long things are going to take to smoke as well. It's another thing, isn't it? How long is it going to, how long do you want it to be smoking for? You can smoke the bacon for days if you want to.
Yeah. That's interesting. You were saying at the beginning about the kind of it being affected by the weather and things like that. I've got the ProQ smoking cabinet, just an aluminium cabinet, and again using the smoke generator that you were mentioning. But I've found that it has been affected by the weather a few times. And the worst one was I actually tried to do some smoking last summer, and being, I suppose, an aluminium, the sun was hitting that cabinet, and it got so hot that it actually melted the cheese. Because the cabinet got hot from the sun, not the actual smoke. So I ended up with a pool of melted cheese. That's
underneath, you would have had a great time.
Oh, God.
I bet it was really tasty smoked cheese, right?
It was tasty cheese, yeah. It's got some nachos and started.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Wasn't quite how you wanted it, though, was it?
No, unfortunately not.
It's definitely taken some experimenting, quite a few years of experimenting, I think, to get it to where I'm happy now with my recipes. If that makes sense.
And on a commercial, you mentioned you got the smoke rub now, and it's commercialized in that respect. Do you still use the dust, or how does it work on a larger scale?
Yeah, so it's still small, I suppose. I've just got Bradleys in there, so I've got a little team of Bradleys. Just because I like their biscuits, I like their smoke generator with the digital side of things. It's quite sort of simple. You can get much bigger kilns. I don't know if you guys have seen the kilns that you can buy, that are a lot of the fish smokers when they're smoking bigger quantities. So you can buy them right up to the size of a room where you can literally wheel your trolleys in, stacked up with everything. But a lot of those, a lot of the time you're paying for the I think, it could be wrong, but I think you're paying for the temperature control in them, because a lot of the time people are hot smoking with them. Whereas because I'm cold smoking, all I really do need is a way to generate the smoke and a box, like I said, that's a sort of as sort of temperature controlled, as in it's not sitting out in the sun, and also hopefully there's no wind whipping through it, so I just keep it quite simple at the moment, and then I think what we're going to do is sort of keep adding to those, because they're quite a nice size, and they keep the smoke in quite well, the Bradleys. So it's nothing too grand. A lot of people have probably got Bradleys at home, I guess, but we just probably got, we've got a few more, and I've racked mine out slightly differently now, so I can hang bellies in those as well, rather than having to use the shelves.
Yeah.
So that just makes it a bit easier for me. Yeah.
If you've been looking or thinking about an outdoor kitchen, then look no further than AOS Outdoor Kitchens.
They are the South's leading outdoor kitchen design and installation specialists.
Their extensive showroom is based just outside Bournemouth on the Dorset-Hampshire border, and as well as numerous in-store displays, also features a live outdoor kitchen where they cook every week on Kamado grills, pizza ovens, and all filmed and shown on YouTube.
They offer a wealth of knowledge on how to transform your patio into the most incredible outdoor dining area, with styles and options to suit every budget, and you can guarantee they will be able to create something perfectly suited to you and your home.
They stock and supply everything that you're going to need for outdoor cooking, including barbecues, Kamado ovens, pizza ovens, outdoor fridges, and every accessory that you would need to become the ultimate outdoor chef.
So if you want to make yourself the envy of your friends and neighbours, get in touch with them today to arrange a consultation and take the first step in transforming your back garden into the most incredible entertainment space.
Visit aoskitchens.co.uk. Just to move completely away from smoking and stuff for a minute in terms of your products. I noticed on your website that you also offer workshops for smoking. Is that right? And with some barbecue chucked in, I believe that it mentioned. Absolutely. And also, so is it like a B&B as well? Is that right? You can stay as well?
Yes, yeah. So we've got a little holiday cottage that's a sort of converted barn, basically. So yeah, people can so they can book it together if they want to, or you can just come and stay in the holiday cottage. And then I do smoking and curing workshops. So that was the first one I started doing, and we started doing those before the pandemic. I mean, they went really well, and then obviously everything shut down, didn't it? So so smoking and curing was where we started. So we cover cold smoking in that, and we cover hot smoking as well, and the differences between them. And then obviously put a load of curing in there as well. So we do sort of just some fish, some things like some cured herring and things like that isn't smoked as well. And a lot of people coming on that one, it's quite nice. I've quite often find a lot of people don't even necessarily know the difference between hot and cold smoking. I know a lot of your the people listening to this probably do, but there's an awful lot of people out there who don't. So that's quite nice to sort of be able to just literally kind of almost go back to basics, and then we go right through to making some bacon and that sort of side of things. And then I do a barbecue and fire cooking workshop as well. So that's more based around introducing people to the different barbecue skills as much as you can. It's hard, isn't it? Because you can't do those long slow cooks. You can tell people about them, but we try and do as much as we can do in those ones. And then I do a preserving workshop as well. So that's all outside over fire. So we do jam, chutney, a pickle, generally a ferment as well. So different, and we do. Do you guys know what American pressure canning is?
No,
never heard of it.
No. So I've got an American style canner. So American homesteaders can a lot of their food. So it basically means preserving it. They usually use glass jars with a lid. So basically what this canner does is so anything you can buy in a tin, essentially I can can, which when they say can, is in a glass jar, and that basically makes it shelf stable. So I can can meats, fish, soup, stocks, and I've got, you can't see it on the camera at the moment, but I've got shelves all around my kitchen where I've just kind of, like all like my turkey stock from Christmas and stuff. I've done loads of cans of that, and they're just up on the shelf. They don't have to take up freezer space. So we go through all of that in the preserving one. And then, we do the jams and stuff all outside over fire as well, which is quite fun to do. So, yeah.
Well, for our listeners, you talked about kind of the basics for barbecue. What sort of tips will people learn on that course?
So that's, well, a lot of the time we are literally going right from the beginning. So, we'll start with the fuel. We'll look at the different kinds of charcoal that you can get. We'll look at the good, I know you guys talk about it on here a lot, and we all talk about it, don't we? But that good old thing of like cook to temperature. Look at the different types of thermometer you can get, and then I'll have prepped a lot of stuff beforehand, but the whole idea is that we'll create a meal on the day, and then we'll all sort of sit down and eat it. So we'll do, we'll do some wings, but as I said to you, I was brought up vegetarian, and my daughter's vegetarian, so we'll do a lot of vegetable dishes alongside the meats as well, because I want to show people how good they can be barbecued as well. And we've got the garden here, so quite often we'll go and pick whatever is in season in the garden or in the polytunnel, and then that's what we'll create the meal with. So I want it to be my cooking's quite seasonal, so I want to kind of bring that into the workshops as well. And the same with the preserving course, that will all be whatever's seasonal at the time as well. So we'll go and kind of I don't know, some cabbage, and chop it up and char that maybe as a little bit of a starter and stuff as well as doing, of course you've got to reverse sear a steak, because a lot of people haven't done that. And of course you've got to plank up some fish, haven't you, as well, because a lot of people you know, haven't done that, and it's so simple, isn't it? So we'll
Yeah.
kind of cover those sort of things, as well as you know, we'll bake a pudding generally as well. So I don't know, maybe something simple like a crumble, or do some scones, or you know, do some baking as well. Try and kind of show people all the different ways that you can kind of use the different bits of equipment as well. You know, some people come not knowing what they want to buy. How do you decide what you want to buy? There's so many different things out there, isn't there? It's nice to come and have
definitely.
a try on them, I think, sometimes.
We have very much
barbecues
two
got?
different. Oh, go on. Yeah, that's a better question than what I was going to say.
What barbecue have I got?
Yeah.
I've got so I've got the char griller. That's probably first one that I started with. So we've got that one. I've got a Kamado Joe. I've got a Savage fire cage, and my husband has built an enormous brick pizza oven. So or wood fired oven, I should say. So I've got that as well. And then I've just got a fire pit as well. I do a fair amount of cooking just on the fire pit. So
Do you chain that up? How do you cook on the fire pit?
On the fire pit, no, I've got one, it's got a shelf that comes over, so that's, you know, I can just literally put, you know, pots and pans on there as well. Like, it's not a lot of my cooking. I like to kind of just use the fire as just a different way to cook, rather than necessarily do big bits of meat all the time. Does that sort of, you know, sort of make sense? Although I can do the big bits of meat, obviously. But I like to sort of show people that fire is it's kind of like the same as your oven, but your oven is just a bit more controllable.
And less fun. Yeah, less fun, less flavorful as well, you know.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, that you can kind of, I think a lot of people are a little bit, maybe just a little bit lacking in confidence sometimes. You know, they've kind of stuck some sausages on there, and that's about as much as they've sort of done, you know, sausages, and done some burgers, and it's nice to sort of show them all the different things that you can do. And then I think then having things like the fire cage, and then the brick oven, and the Kamado, that gives me a massive amount of different things that I can do all at the same time, basically.
Yeah,
I can have quite a lot of different things going on there. And things, you know, well, you guys know, don't you? Things like the Kamado are so forgiving, aren't they? Once you got them set up.
Yeah. Once you understand how long it takes to light, and the fact you need to soak the ceramic with heat, you can keep that going for hours and hours and hours on minimal fuel.
Yeah.
It's just understanding how it works in the first place.
Yeah, and that's what, you know, a lot of time you need to sort of show people, because they haven't ever seen one, let alone kind of used one, you know. But once you got it going, it's wonderful. Versus something like a fire cage, which won't keep going at the same temperature for forever. Not at all.
No.
Particularly not up here.
Yeah, not with the wind. Do you have
No.
have you got the cage that has the almost like the windbreakers? I've forgotten what they're called, the panels.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't even really take those off even in summer. No, I mean, that's why it's windy today. I'm glad the connection's okay. But yeah, so this morning we were running at about 50-60 mile an hour winds this morning up here.
Wow.
Yeah, it was windy. Whereas it probably wasn't quite as windy as that for you guys, I'm guessing.
No. It's been fairly windy, but yeah, definitely not that bad.
Yeah, so, you know, if you're cooking in that, it can be quite fun.
I can imagine. Well, actually, this could be a good opportunity then, if to talk about any barbecue fails, maybe wind related or not. As you know, we love to talk about things that haven't gone so well. So whether that's curing, barbecuing, whatever you want to tell us, what stories have you got for us?
Yeah, so I thought I've got a couple of stories. So probably my biggest stressful fail was so this is quite a few years ago now. I've got a hog roaster, and we obviously had we'd killed the pigs. I thought we'd have a bit of a celebration, bit of a party. I think it was husband's birthday as well. So it wasn't a whole pig. It was I think we did a whole turkey, because I had too many turkeys, and I was just like, let's just do one of those now. So we had a whole turkey, and I think we did a really big pig's leg on there. And like I said, this was quite a long time ago, before I really understood about the thing called stalling.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, you're seeing where this is going, aren't you? So everything was basically going to plan. It was marvelous. It was the temperature's looking good. Everything's all cool, and everybody's arriving, and everything's great. And I'm thinking, oh, we're going to, about an hour. It's going to be great, isn't it? No, it's really not going to be great. And yeah. So then I panic. So then you kind of like, oh my god. So we've probably all done this, haven't we? Whack the temperature right up.
Crank it. Crank it.
Oh my god, what we're going to do? Like literally everybody. So yeah, everybody was basically waiting for about 4 hours until I was happy with the temperature. But everyone was fine. There was drinks flowing and there was music and stuff. But yeah, that was probably, that was probably one of the worst. You've got about 30, 40 people just sort of looking at you, kind of thinking, I'm hungry now.
Yeah, there's only so much crisps you can give them.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, there was that one. And then I think the other thing that I think I was trying to remember whether it was either with the Kamado or it was with the brick oven. I think it was with the brick oven, because when that really gets going and the flames come round, and I think it was that, and I opened the door to that. I think rather than the Kamado, it's got to have been, because I basically singed off pretty much all my eyebrows and definitely all my eyelashes.
Oh
yeah, just where it just
flashed.
Came out basically. Yeah, so that was a pretty bad fail. So now I'm always quite cautious when opening any of those.
Burp it first. Burp it first.
Yeah, because as a girl, not being able to have a few eyelashes is.
See, with a 14-week-old at home, you burp it first. That's the rule.
So stalling and burp it first. There'd be my two little things. Well, we've got to learn these things, haven't we? Generally by doing them.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, that could have been so much worse as well. Luckily, it was just your eyebrows and lashes. Yeah. Imagine if your whole hair had gone.
And you get that smell, don't you, from burnt hair, just instantly, and it kind of makes that fizz, doesn't it? And you're just like, oh no. And I kind of felt my eyebrows. I was like, oh no.
Permanent surprise look.
Exactly. They go a bit kind of like curly, don't they? Curly and white. Wasn't good. Yes. Wasn't a good look.
I had a failure on the weekend that I haven't told Owen about. So I got a Dutch oven from Alton's Barbecue World. We went to the open evening there.
Nice.
Absolutely love it. It's a Petromax, I think that's how you pronounce it. German brand.
Yeah.
And I did a lamb shank in there. Absolutely amazing. Loved it. Loved how it came out. It looked gorgeous. Go check out the Instagram. But so took it out, put it on the side, left it for a while when I did like the mashed potatoes. And then I thought, that's been sat there for half an hour. So it should be fine if I just take the lid off my hand. Nope. Burnt the hell out of my hand. Because, cast iron, it holds its heat a lot. I'm just lucky I didn't take anything out when I dropped the lid, because I basically threw it across the room. It was heavy, but it's not until you've got it kind of 4 or 5 maybe inches away that you realise how hot it is, and you can't just put it back down when it's that hot.
The Petromax handles aren't that big, are they?
Nope.
So you kind of got to really have it to lift it up. You're committed, aren't you, at that point?
Oh, I committed lots of things that day, and that was very painful indeed. So wear gloves, people.
Did you not take a... Does the Petromax ones come with a little like metal hook to take them off?
They do, but I didn't purchase it, Owen. So maybe that's another purchase I need to make.
The one I got, I can't remember what brand it was, actually comes with it, a little hook.
Nice.
And I never touch it with my hands at all. Always use that hook.
Yeah. Sensible. See, sensible words.
Yeah, I just thought half an hour, should be fine. But no.
They are amazing quality, things, aren't they?
Oh God, like I couldn't believe how easy it was to use, how well the lamb came out, and the fact that I'd never used them before. I was amazed at how it seemed to absorb the heat from the barbecue when you've got the vents open quite a lot and you're sitting it in the coals directly and thinking, my Kamado's not showing more than like 80 degrees. Is this thing actually, is there any heat in there? And you open the lid and it's because it's just absorbed all of it. I love them. Great piece of kit. Get some.
No, they're really good. And then, and they're great on the fire cage as well. And in the fire pit, that's the kind of thing that I'll use those quite a lot. And in the brick oven as well. So quite generally, if I'm gonna do like pizzas or something like that, then I'll have already prepped like a curry or something and just stick it in there overnight.
Mm-hmm.
And then that will just use that residual heat, and then it's ready for the morning. Yeah, awesome little pots they are. Yeah.
Plus, I love the sound of curry for breakfast as well. That just sounds beautiful.
Right? With no effort, literally no effort.
That sounds like a Sunday morning breakfast after a couple of beers the night before.
Yeah. You just have to remember, just definitely do put lots of liquid in.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely do put lots of liquid in, because otherwise it goes wrong. Yeah.
It would be good to know what plans you've got for 2023. Are there, dare I say it, maybe some new products that we can get an exclusive on, or you got some events coming up? What's the plans for you this year?
The plans for me is to just try and keep it all going. Basically, the lots of spinning of plates that I do. Loads more workshops this year. We're going to be doing some more like food fairs and stuff in the summer. There might be some more events, like say, coming up there as well in the summer. I haven't got any new exclusive products to tell you about at the moment, unfortunately. Although I keep coming up with them, and I keep having to just be like, just stick with the ones you've got. Because the problem is, I have to just stop. I know, bad, isn't it? I have to keep sort of going, just stop, just keep doing the ones that you've got. So yeah, it's just, there's nothing going to be sort of hugely different, I suppose, from last year, but just trying to do more of it all. That's my kids are getting a little bit older. We can go out and we can do a few more events and stuff like that. That's what I'd quite like to do, some more of that sort of stuff this summer, and try and, I think we're all still a bit desperate to go out, aren't we? I know we had last summer, but
God,
I think, yeah. And like I said, my kids are getting a bit older, so I've got one now that's old enough to sort of stay here overnight, so that's quite handy, so she can look after the animals for us, because I've got to balance the animal side of things as well with the sort of business side of things. So that'd be good to go out and do a few more things. And then, I mean, there's lots of stuff happens in this area of Wales, but generally it's all a little bit smaller, so to go and maybe do a few more things over in England, or probably down in South Wales and stuff, I would say.
Brilliant. Well, should we move on to we've been talking lots about ingredients. Should we go on to our barbecue bingo challenge?
Absolutely. Let's have a look.
Barbecue bingo is brought to you by Lumberjack Food Company. Your ticket to Flavortown.
So Owen's going to bring up this wheel for you to look at. Anyone on YouTube will probably know how much money we've put into this fantastic contraption that does or does not work occasionally. But there's a whole list of ingredients here where, over the course of the last series, we've been asking our guests, once they get picked something, to leave an ingredient. So before we spin this, have a think about what you might want to leave someone to kind of experiment with. But we have some great options there. We also have something called My Signature Dish, where if it lands on that, we'll ask you to cook something that you're known for. So what would be your signature dish?
It's going to have to be something to do with bacon, isn't it?
I was going to say it has to be, surely.
It's got to be, surely. So if I just leave it vague like that, something to do with bacon, and then I can... So I think it's got to be bacon in there.
Sounds good. Right. Okay. Oh, go on, Dan.
Just checking. There's nothing on there you're allergic to, is there?
No, I'm not allergic to anything. No, we're all good.
Good. We've had it once, and so we like to occasionally check.
No, you're all good.
Lovely.
Go for it. Oh. Black pudding. Nice. Okay.
Are you a fan of black pudding?
I am a fan of black pudding, actually. Yeah. I like sort of, I'm a big fan of like black pudding and scallops. That's one of my favorites. That's one of my favorites. But funny enough, somebody mentioned the other day to add to my meat jam collection about maybe doing a black pudding jam.
I was thinking that. I was wondering if like black pudding jam is a thing at all.
Yeah.
I'd eat that for breakfast every day. That sounds amazing.
So it might have to be a combination of the two, mightn't it? I might have to do a sort of a black pudding jam with a black pudding and scallops or something like that. I think
Yeah,
black
that
pudding and
sounds
scallops,
nice.
is that a Sussex dish? Is that just me that likes that? I'm sure it's Sussex.
I
have no idea.
I've heard of it. My mum's obsessed with it, and she's very much Welsh. So maybe
Okay,
part
maybe
of
not then.
Sussex was in Wales that day. I don't know, but
Okay, I'll have a bit more of a thing. You know, I like black pudding. We went up to the Outer Hebrides not last year, the year before, and they do a lot of black pudding up on the Isle of Lewis, and I found this black pudding that I really liked. And I went in there, and there was all these, it's quite touristy, isn't it? There's all these people buying these little packs, and there's like, I don't know, 4 slices in each pack or something like that. And I was like, can I just buy 2 black puddings? And they're like, yeah, they're over there. And I was like, no. I want to buy 2 black puddings, please. They're like, oh, but I'm like, yes, I want the whole black puddings. Yeah, none of that little slices. So I came away with these black puddings, and then obviously I brought them back here and sliced them up and backpacked them, and yeah, I think I've got to go back to the Outer Hebrides just to go and buy some more of their black pudding, which I think is totally legitimate.
It sounds, expense. That's definitely a business expense.
Exactly. For this, there we are.
Yeah,
That's
exactly. There we are.
Yeah.
Well done, us.
Exactly. I've got to go and do it because they've told me. Yeah.
And what ingredient would you like to leave?
So I was thinking, although you have got a couple of fruit on here already, but I was thinking strawberries.
Oh, that's a good shout.
I don't think we've had strawberries
and we're
before.
kind of coming up for summer, aren't we?
Yeah.
Now, so yeah,
by the time this episode comes out, it's probably going to be mid to end of May. So
that'll be perfect.
Yeah,
then, won't
this
it?
will be perfect.
Yeah.
Great,
So,
that's on the list.
Awesome. No, I'm quite excited about doing some. That's a good excuse to cook up some black pudding. That's good. Quite happy with that one.
Yeah, we look forward to it. Just tag us in on Instagram once you've cooked that, and then we can reshare that. So, is there anything that we haven't spoken about yet that you would like to kind of bring up? Any questions we haven't asked about the business, or anything else for that matter, actually, that you wanted to talk about?
Well, the only thing I didn't get onto, I suppose, with my waffling earlier on was just to talk about the lamb bacon that I do.
I wrote that down, and I was worried that I'd misheard, and it was lamb, bacon. So I thought I won't say it and look stupid, but lamb bacon, like I've never heard of anyone else doing anything like that before.
I think there's a couple of people doing. I've seen there's a couple of people doing lamb bacon, but they do it with the breast. Whereas mine's done with the loin. But I don't know anybody else doing a smoked lamb bacon. I could be wrong. Somebody might write in or tell you or whatever that there is somebody else doing it. But so it's kind of just because lamb butchery I'm fine with. The chickens and the turkeys I'm fine with. So I was butchering a lamb, and as I was kind of butchering it, I was just like, that's a little chicken. And I was like, so why can't I just make it into bacon? The same as I make my bacon, So yeah, that's where the lamb bacon came from. That's quite popular in terms of sort of one of our products.
How does that taste and feel? Like it must be different, like very different.
No, it's not. The texture isn't that different to normal bacon. Obviously it's like a little miniature rasher. I mean, it's like a little mini one, but it does taste like a sort of lamby bacon. You get the two things there. So yeah, it's definitely different to a pork bacon. But then I get some people who say, oh, I don't like lamb, and then they try the lamb bacon and they do like that. So it's got a bit of crossover there. I just that's quite a sort of popular product of ours, and maybe something that's a little bit different than maybe people, like you say, people haven't heard of before. It's nice
I'm in that camp, Claire. I don't, for all the love of meat and barbecue and all these things, I just can't get on with lamb. But I've tried lots of different cuts of lamb and things. But it's all I'd still like to give it a go, even though I don't like lamb. The fact that it's in bacon form and you've cured it and smoked it, etc. It's definitely interesting.
Yeah,
It's definitely interesting. It's got to be an interesting flavour for sure.
Yeah, you still might not like it, but yeah, a lot of people that don't like that classic lamb flavour do like the lamb bacon, and then we flavour that with a bit of Cambrian honey we use in that one. So it's got, again, it's that kind of got that sweetness to it as well. So yeah, so just something a little bit different. I think we've kind of pretty much covered. Oh yeah, I smoke a lot of salts as well. So I smoke salt and sugar, which goes into the barbecue rubs. So I've just got sort of a range of 4 of those, where I try to use a lot of sort of Welsh products as well in those rubs. Yeah, I think that's pretty much covered most of the products anyway, haven't we? Yeah.
So this is your time now for a proper shameless plug. Tell people where they can find you. What's your website, socials, etc. Tell people.
Mostly Instagram, so it's Welsh Homestead Smokery on Instagram. That's pretty much where you'll find me. I did have a bit of a mess up on Facebook, very long story, but I lost access to my old account. So if you go to the Welsh Homestead Smokery Facebook, I can't see anything that you put on there. So don't go to the one that says new Welsh Homestead Smokery, and then I might have a chance to be able to see you. Yeah, just don't. Yeah, very long story. And so I try not to confuse people and go on Facebook. Mostly Instagram, Welsh Homestead Smokery, or the website is welshsmokery.co.uk. And yeah, that's generally the best ways to find me. I have started TikTok, which is just Welsh Homestead on TikTok, but I'm really not very good at that. I think that's an art, isn't it?
Owen's our TikTok guy. I don't even want to go near it.
I'm still a bit confused by Reels, to be honest with you. So then going over to TikTok, it's all a bit, I find it all a bit much.
I agree.
I find it cool. Yeah, I think, I don't know, I'm just a bit nostalgic for just nice pictures again, rather than video. Or is that just me?
No, we mainly post videos. No, sorry. I think if you look back, we've mainly posted images more so than videos, to be fair.
Yeah. What I tend to do is, because we have our podcast page, I'll put most of my pictures on there because I feel safer doing that. And then my personal one, I'll put more of the videos because if it messes up, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. But some people do it so well, don't they? You look at some of these guys and they are just like flashing out such awesome reels, and they must spend so long doing them, and their content just looks amazing. Yeah. And then I try and do it, and then particularly with winter, then it gets dark, doesn't it? So you started doing it, haven't you? And now you've just got the pictures of you trying to shine a torch on something it doesn't work, does it? They basically must start cooking a lot earlier than I start cooking, I think, just to make sure they get it all in daylight. It all starts well and then it all goes wrong, doesn't it?
Yeah, I quite often do that. I start and then I lose my way halfway through, and I forgot to bring my phone out to where I was cooking, and then I finish and I just want to eat it, and it's a rush job then.
Or the classic, like Owen and I promised each other we'd do a load of videos the start of this year, and in the winter, unless you start recording and doing stuff at like 8 or 9 a.m, game over, because by the time you finish, it's dark.
Yeah, literally. And in summertime, you've got a bit more flexibility, but then my family get annoyed that I plate up this stuff and then I take it away from them and wander off around the garden with it somewhere to go and get some kind of nice picture with it, and they're just like, come on now, we're hungry. You've been cooking it for 6 hours, can you put it back in front of me again now, please? Well, I'm guessing probably most people's families complain about the same things. Yeah,
pretty much.
Yeah.
Well, it's been absolutely fantastic having you on the podcast, Claire. We really, really enjoyed talking to you. As I said, I've taken some tips away. I'm really happy about that. So thank you.
Yeah, cool.
And hopefully we get to see you in person at maybe some events this year. And appreciate you coming on.
Oh, no, thank you very much for inviting me. And hopefully that's a little bit of a different sort of few things that we've gone over with sort of the more homesteading things and stuff as well, so it's quite nice to talk about that, so thank you very much.
Yeah, no, it's a first for us, so yeah, it was a nice change of pace.
Yeah, no, that's cool. Thank you for the invite.
Thank you so much.
Well, thanks, Claire.
Cool. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.
That's it. Awesome.
I wasn't sure whether you wanted me to actually go then.
You can do, yeah. We just record the intro and outro afterwards. So go enjoy the rest of your evening.
Oh, thank you. I've got puppies here, so I'm going to go and sort puppies out now. So
Nice.
They've behaved and they've been quite quiet, haven't they? We've been all right.
Yeah, I haven't heard him.
I would not have known. Would not have known.
They're in the room behind me. I was like, husband's got strict instructions that if they started making loads of noise, to take them another room further that way. I was like, they're going to think I'm strangling something behind me. So, I'm going to go sort out the little pups now. So, thanks for having me on, guys.
Cheers. Bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
That's it for another episode of the Meet and Greet Barbecue Podcast. Thanks so much to Claire. It was amazing to talk about bacon. Who doesn't love bacon? And all things cold smoking, curing, and who doesn't want to eat bacon jam? Anyways, we'd also love to hear from you. Please tell us what you want to talk about. Like that episode there, a bit of a change of pace to our usual heavily barbecue focused talk. Please get in contact with us through our socials at Meet and Greet Barbecue Podcast, through the website meetandgreetbarbecuepodcast.com. And until next time, keep on grilling. Today's episode is brought to you by AOS Kitchens, the South's leading outdoor kitchen design and installation specialists.